Hello explorers, thanks for joining us again and welcome back to another exciting and informative video on our YouTube channel. If you are joining us for the first time, we want to thank you for watching. In this episode, I will be looking into the economy of Madagascar. I will explore a number of very important economic metrics in this video. I shall look at trade exchanges, explore Madagascar's growth and why it's underpinned by the core, and more importantly why the failing twin deficit in Madagascar and why a presidential election in a climate of socio-economic discontent. I will look into the growth of this country, explore the overview, bring you a more detailed analysis with regards to Madagascar's situation. So by the end of this video, you will know more about Madagascar like never before seen. So without any much delay, let's just dive straight into it. For those of you who don't know Madagascar, Madagascar is the world's fifth largest island, situated in the Indian Ocean off the coast of Southern Africa. Despite considerable natural resources, however, its population of about 28 million, looking at 2020 figures, has one of the world's highest poverty rates. If you look at the political situation in the country of Madagascar, President André Rajoelina and Prime Minister Christian Nsai has led the country since January 2019. Legislative elections held in May of 2019 gave the president's party a majority in the National Assembly, while communal elections in November of 2019 and senatorial elections in December of 2020 further consolidated the ruling party's hold, resulting in majorities in both houses of parliament. A government reshuffle was carried out late February of 2023 this year. The government has 30 ministers, including 10 women. Madagascar's next presidential elections are scheduled for November, which is going on at the moment, and it's going to be for the first round. If you look at the economic situation in the country of Madagascar, for decades, Madagascar has struggled with sluggish growth and also persistent poverty, largely due to weak governance and inadequate human and also physical capital development and slow structural transformation. The situation is exacerbated by increasing climate crisis and heightened vulnerability for external shocks. More importantly, moreover, weak economic growth combined with the rapid population growth has resulted in Madagascar's having one of the highest poverty rates in the world, reaching 75% in 2022 using the national poverty line. If you look at figures, although economic growth decelerated from 5.7% in 2021 to 3.8% in 2022, largely due to the spillover effect of the war in Ukraine and climate shocks, it gradually recovered. Growth is expected to continue in recovery path, stabilizing at about 4% in 2023 before accelerating to about 4.7% in 2024 to 2025. Inflationary pressures have intensified, with headline inflation increasing from 6.9% in June of 2022 to about 11.3% June of 2023. Inflation is expected to remain at about 10.5% this year, before moderating to about 8.5% as of 2024 to 2025. If you look at other aspects, the current account deficit wandered from about 5% of gross domestic product in 2025 to about 5.6% in 2022. However, a decline in global oil prices is projected to contribute to the further narrowing of the current account deficit, which is looking at about 4.5% of GDP, looking at 2023 to 2025 figures. As the decline in imports outspaces the slowdown in export, the rebound in export may face challenges. However, as restrictive import policies such as the lowering of permissible nicotine level is imported food products from Madagascar's main vanilla trading partners are likely to hinder progress. If you look at Madagascar's situation, the overall fiscal deficit widened from 2.8% of gross domestic product in 2021 to 6.4% in 2022, and the total public debt rose to about 56% of gross domestic product in Madagascar in 2022. This deteriorated into fiscal balance in largely the result quote of deferred payments of oil duties by oil distributors. The settlement of those cross liabilities is projected to narrow the budget deficit to about 3.8% of gross domestic product this 2023, as tax revenue rise to about 12% of gross domestic product from about 9.6% in 2022 if we compare the figures. Moreover, the projected gradual increase in capital expenditure from about 5.1% of GDP and the implementation of government's priorities and also projects. If you look at Madagascar, considering this country with regards to its strength and also weaknesses, Madagascar does have incredible strength as a country. If you consider large mining reserves, things like nickels, gold, titanium, and also graphite, cobalt, and ilmenite, and also precious stones. Agricultural potentials: world-leading vanilla producer of about 80% of the global market in 2022, second largest exporter of cloves, and also fisheries potential. If you look at other areas, positive development of tourism, its share of GDP is about 12.7% if you look at 2019 figures. The number of visitors has also climbed back to about 77% of the pre-pandemic level over the first 7 months of 2023. Mainly consequential public debt, looking at 98% of total new debt in 2023. Several trade agreements with the United States of America, looking at AGOA, which is the African Growth and Opportunity Act, the European Union EPA, and also you have the participation in 3 regional economic communities, COMESA, SADC, and also IOC. However, Madagascar does have some weaknesses as well as a country. Overdependence on agriculture, livestock, which covers about 25% of gross domestic product between them in 2020, and also mining sector as well as on fuel imports. Vulnerability to fluctuation in terms of trade, extreme climate hazard, resurrection of cyclones, and also severe drought. Very high levels of poverty, and 80% of the population with widespread food insecurity. Heavy dependency on foreign aid as well with regards to Madagascar's situation. Madagascar does have weak roads, water and electricity infrastructure. About 33% of the population has access to electricity. Another very important weakness of Madagascar is that there is high level of consumption. Madagascar is ranked 142nd out of 180 countries with a score of 26 out of 10 in Transparency International Consumption and also Corruption Perception Index for 2022. Chronic political instability crisis since 1972, 1991, and 2002, including 2009. However, Madagascar does have some incredible trade exchanges which are very important to look at statistics. If we look at export of goods as a percentage total, Madagascar exports about 26% to Europe, 17% to the United States of America, and also 14% to China, and also 12% to the country of Japan. It does export about 4% to South Korea. However, Madagascar also imports goods and services. Looking at the percentage, from China it's about 22%, from Europe it's about 12%, and also Oman we're looking at about 11%, and India at about 10%, also South Africa about 5%. However, if you look at different aspects, the growth underpinned by a core, looking at the way Madagascar is operating, affected by inflationary pressure linked to the higher rice import and also high local fuel prices, and 2 cyclones that led to supply disruption. The country's economic growth slowed in 2023, faced with the collapsing vanilla sales. In April of 2023, the authorities abolished the floor price effectively applied since November of 2022 to black vanilla export, US dollar about 250 per kilograms. But given the size of the stocks and growing competition from other countries, the price might not be respected. However, export resumes at the end of 2023, and this recovery should continue in 2024. This will also be the case for gold, as the government decides in March of 2023 to lift the ban on imports export dating from 2022 to 2024. That's to the implementation of the new mining code, revised and approved by the Constitutional Court in July of 2023. The legislation increased the combined royalty and also community rebate rates for for about 5% from 2%, and reduce the validity of a mining license to 25 years from 40 years, renewable ones for the 15 years to also 20 years. Despite tough conditions, foreign and domestic investment, and which has been at a standstill for about 20 years, is expected to increase. This is due to a more attractive legal and also regulatory environment and sustainable global demand for the country's mineral resources, graphite, nickels, and also cobalt, which are essential to the energy transition. The commissioning of the large graphite extractive facilities will also boost mineral export. Public investment will support the construction sector by targeting infrastructural projects such as construction of a water pipeline in the south and the new motorway to link Antananarivo and also Tuamansina by 2026. Private consumption is expected to remain weak in 2024, while inflation will remain high. Poverty affected 80% of the population. The Indian embargo on non-basmati rice export, introduced in July of 2023, will further drive up food prices, especially as 90% of Madagascar's rice imports come from India. If you look at other aspects, in 2023, the Central Bank of Madagascar, the BCM, increased its deposits facility and marginal lending rates to about 9% and also 11% respectively to moderate prices. With inflation expected to slow down in 2024, the Bank of Madagascar could increase and also ease its monetary policy to stimulate growth. If you look at the falling twin deficits in the country of Madagascar, in 2023, the budget deficit narrowed slightly thanks to the higher revenues. Foreign aid and tax are also running for office, and the alliance of their two parties forms the main opposition force for the 2024 legislative elections, accompanied by 9 other opposition candidates and several hundred supporters. They marched peacefully on October 2nd, but were dispersed by tear gas used by police. The opposition will also contest the elections results in the incumbent wins after an electoral campaign that was sealed off by the government. The risk of a coup d'etat is a possibility given that the army has already intervened in the past during contested as transition, most recently in 2002 and 2009. In March of 2023, the government banned all forms of political demonstration and will crack down on opponents in the events of protest. Those elections are taking place against a backdrop of widespread discontent, fueled by weak growth, high inflation, and also a food crisis resulting from external supply shocks, persistent drought in the south, and also resurrections and cyclones. Added to these is a high poverty rate of 80%, as we've pointed out, and prevalence of crime and also banditry, which rose by 8% in 2021. In 2024, the country will continue to depend on international aid, multilateral organizations, as well as France and the United States of America. If you consider this particular country, Madagascar situation, hopefully the country can turn it around and move really swiftly to strategize itself and become one of those countries that has been known as a hot destination for holiday makers around the world. We want to thank you for watching The Explorer. Hopefully we've informed you regards the situation in Madagascar. We are looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye bye.